All right, we got ourselves another blog, and it is about Zhatan the Black. So what we'll be talking about today is his mount options. Let me just tell you right away. It's the Great Taurus and the Lamasu. I wasn't sure if he'd be getting mounts, but he does, as well as just kind of going into some information about the Chaos Dwarf Warriors, a little bit of a discussion about the Chaos Dwarf War Machines. But that, for the most part, is the contents, or are the contents of this blog post here today, and that's all you wanted to know. Feel free to go ahead and shut the video down. But before you do, please don't forget to like, comment, and or subscribe. All those things do really help me out in a very, very huge way. Also, if you've not yet pre-ordered the Chaos Dwarf DLC, Forge of the Chaos Dwarfs, you can use my CA affiliate link in the description as well as the pinned comment. That 10% discount, though, it looks like it just tells us right here in this blog. That'll carry all the way to the 20th. So if you want to wait for it to come out and see how the DLC actually looks before you make that purchase, go ahead and do that if you want. But let's get started here on the Zhatan the Black dev blog. And it's pretty cool because he's a really cool guy. I mean, like, he's got the OG throwback look. You know, this is what the character looked like when you look at the 3rd edition model and all that stuff. Like, it is super true to form, and it's really cool to take a look at him and see him brought into the Total War engine. I do love how it always is like, every time you look up anything for Zhatan the Black, it's like, well, he's a servant of Gorth the Cruel. Okay. Gorth the Cruel is not a model, so I don't care, you know? So we see Zhatan the Black, the commander of the Tower of Zar, is a servant of Gorth, or to Gorth the Cruel. So he is not, of course, as prestigious as the other two lords that are quite high in the hierarchy, but still he is quite powerful in the Chaos Dwarf government. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. But you can see here, we've got some really cool pictures of him. I mean, I do, again, really love this blue. Love that aesthetic here. I love the spiraling of his beard. With like the magma or the gold fleecing into it, whatever it's supposed to be. But it is really, 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 really sick. And I almost kind of wish it was like just as saturated here. And hopefully when we see him in game, we'll see if like the back of his crown has the same kind of look as the Infernal Guard, where it's kind of like looking molten and stuff like that. Because that would be a really cool visual effect. Kind of makes him stand out a little bit from the other two who have such clear, distinctive looks. But we'll take a look once that actually happens. But as a melee first lord, Zhatan can smash bones to bits on foot, soar through the skies mounted atop a Lamasu, scorch lands from a Great Taurus, or pin prospective new laborers with his sadistic snare net. So he looks like he'll have a bound net ability. It says new laborers, so I'm wondering if this is like a net of Amantak, or if this is like, God, what's it called? Basically Wurzogs, which is single target, one effigy to get. So I wonder if it's going to be effigy or more actual net. We'll have to see what that looks like in the campaign showcase. They said at the end of this that there's a campaign showcase coming for Zhatan as well. But alternatively, he can utilize an intensifying aura of boundless cruelty to strike fear into the hearts of those who oppose him. So I'm wondering if this is something of a leadership debuff, or if it applies. You know, it'd be interesting if it, in 35-meter radius, if it gives everyone fear. That could be a cool way to do that. After all, the only thing louder than the screams of his broken foes is Zhatan's gloating laughter. Armed with the Obsidian Axe, the Armor of Gazrak, and the Chaos Rune Shield to enhance his combat abilities yet further, Zhatan is one cruel customer. So I want to know who you're going to play first in the comments. Are you going to play good old Zadi here? Are you going for Azeroth? Like, what? Azeroth. Azeroth isn't even a name. Astrogoth. Or who are you going to play? Drazoeth. Let me know in the comment section below, between the 3 Chaos Dwarf lords, which one is going to be your first one, because I'm still debating who I'm going to play on the channel. But after that, we have Flames, Trains, and War Machines, discussing the War Machine. So we have the Iron Demon, and we have the Skullcracker. Now, I did a whole big Chaos Dwarf roster breakdown looking at the 4th edition, as well as the Tamarkon books. And this is like a one-to-one translation of what the art looks like. And it's a really cool one here for the Iron Demon. And on top right here are 2 steam cannonades. So they probably are going to have a very limited range shot cannonball, which is going to be pretty cool. And then the Skullcracker, which is this guy right here, is meant, as far as like the lore is concerned, to destroy siege equipment. So it'd be really interesting to see how this bad boy can be used in sieges. And I think what's going to be really devastating for the dwarfs, or the Chaos Dwarfs, is they're really not going to need any siege engines. because they've got so many pieces of artillery to be used across their, well, demon engines. So it'll be fun to really see how these things really change the landscape of minor settlement and major settlement, or provincial capital battles, and how they really work themselves out. But this thing has hacking blades, that you can see right here. Then we have the Skullcracker configuration that crushes fortifications with ease, thanks to the hissing, grinding, arcane mechanical conglomeration of iron hammers, hacking blades, and brutal picks. So things are going off. Then we have the Dreadquake Mortar. So here's a pretty interesting thing about this. While the Dreadquake Mortar can be used as an independent artillery piece, it can also be towed into battle by both the Iron Demon and Skullcracker locomotives. So I assume that means that it has a much slower speed, and the latter two have a much faster speed, since they seem to be more like kind of like a dwarf chariot, right? Not literally, but they seem to be more geared towards getting into combat, especially like a Skullcracker, right? Like this thing's going to jump up close and personal and cracks some skulls. God, bad pun. But being among the most effective and largest siege weapon deployed by the Chaos Dwarfs, this mighty bombard will rend the earth and smash fortifications to dust. So I'm very, very stoked to kind of look at, to find a little bit more about the Dreadquake Mortar. In my video, I kind of talked about this, but I think that it would be very similar to a Queen Bess, where it has a very long recycle between shots. Those shots are very high damage, high explosion, and they probably leave something behind that causes damage, in the same way that the rules describe that that's how they're supposed to be used. So I wouldn't be surprised at all. But we also get two stationary. Here's our Dreadquake Mortar, dude. Like, look at that thing, man. It looks like the railgun, like the railway cannon from World War II. But either way, super goddamn cool, and I really love the look of this thing. So I'm excited to see how it's actually going to play in campaign. But we have our other two pieces in, this is the Magma Cannon and the Death Shrieker Rocket. So Magma Cannon is just going to be exactly what you expect it to be. It's a cannon. But a Death Shrieker Rocket should have two different types of shells. So a diabolical contraption and one of the most destructive weapons ever created, with its munitions housing an unruly fire spirit harvested from the cinders of Hashut's sacrificial ashes. Launching shells high into the air, the rockets from this beast will burst in midair, showering those below with fire and destruction. And let us not forget the alternative shells, demolition rockets, that explode upon contact with foes. This hulking piece of artillery is named for its horrific shrieks that emerge from within its grisly innards, although they're nothing in comparison to the screams of those that face it, of course. So it looks like it's got an anti-infantry and an anti-large firing mode, as I would have expected, and that's again exactly how it was in the Tamarcon book. So I would expect this it's basically like a ballista. Well, I guess like a repeater bolt thrower, but a Chaos Dwarf rocket launcher instead. So super stoked to hear about that. A real quick blurb here on the convoys. Nothing really new in this. I mean, we've seen it actually in action in almost all of the, in the previous two campaign things. So there's nothing really to kind of divulge. But it does say, fear not, as a Chaos Dwarf's main resource, labor, raw materials, or treasury are also up for grabs on these expeditions, helping expand the already expansive economy that the Dawizar have at their disposal. And for the Chaos Warriors, that's it. It's Chaos Dwarfs from now on. Chaos Dwarf Warriors. We just kind of have a quick little breakdown of them. Nothing crazy, nothing earth-shattering in this little section. It just talks about them, being axe and shield, or with blunderbuss, or with great weapons. And it's kind of cool to see this, the drawings and the art of everything. You get the three crests of the three characters, how they really kind of look over here, and you get the cool different types of axes. So just kind of a nice little breakdown of the characters. And I honestly, people that have watched my channel for a long time know I love the High Elves, and I do not like the Dwarfs as a point of liking the High Elves. The Dwarf aesthetic is really goddamn cool. Ironbreakers look sick. Longbeards are some of the coolest looking Dwarf warrior units in any fantasy setting. Like, yeah, sure. The dwarfs in Lord of the Rings, Gimli looks cool, and then if you had an unfortunate circumstance of watching the Hobbit trilogy, those dwarfs are kind of okay. But the dwarfs in Warhammer are so cool. They're probably the coolest looking dwarfs in any fantasy. Just like the High Elves are the coolest looking elf of any fantasy. And the Chaos Dwarfs take that and make it even cooler with scary ass hats, with weird hats, man. Like, what's the practicality? I mean, as someone who's a High Elf fan and everyone's hat looks just like that, that thing's terrifying. I kind of like this one a little bit more, but that thing could just, that if I saw that coming down the way at me, like, what is that for? But either way, we see the Chaos Dwarfs doing their thing here. Now, up next, it's pretty much just telling us that there's Warp. This is a wrap on the trilogy for the 3 blogs. We'll be getting a showcase of Zhatan the Black, but the train isn't out. But the train isn't running out of track anytime soon, as we've got another showcase on the way where you'll get to see Zhatan the Black in action. I would imagine that's this week, and we'll be back next week with yet more announcements. We'll, of course, have a full set of patch notes dropping alongside Update 3 and Forge of the Chaos Dwarfs, as well as another maddening surprise or two to go with it. Keep a close eye on all our official channels for further details, and we'll see you on the battlefield. So, pretty, what the hell does that mean? As well as another maddening surprise or two to go with it. I mean, we haven't seen really anything from Ulrika aside from the fact that she's been announced. Just scant little mentions of what her weaponry is like and stuff like that. So maybe that's probably going to be more into that department, getting a little bit more information into it. Not really too sure, but overall, this concludes our news dump for the day. Here's our little kind of recap of Zhatan the Black and everything. So hopefully you got plenty of information. But go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. Which character are you going to be playing? Is it Zadi? Is it going to be Astrogoth? Is it going to be Drazoith? Let me know in the comments which Chaos Dwarf you'll be playing. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to follow me on Twitch, where I will be streaming Total War Warhammer 3 when this DLC goes live as well. But as always, have a good one and take care.